If the quilting system that you're working with looks like the one that I'm using here today, the Carriage has two side rails with cross tubes that support the rails, and you have horizontal wheels on both your head and your carriage. We'll go through the wheel adjustments to get the table and the machine to move the way you want it to. With any of our quilting systems, the level of the table is going to be the most important. You want to make sure that it is level the entire length of the table, both front to back and side to side. Adjustments can be made to your table legs, including raising your table up to 9 inches off the floor to get the table to a comfortable height for you. We'll show you how to do those wheel adjustments on the table legs. To make adjustments to the legs on your table, you want to use a large black wrench that was supplied with your quilting system. The larger end will fit over the large nut that's at the bottom of your table leg. If you loosen the nut so it's no longer pressed right against the bottom of your table leg, and unscrew the large nut until it's resting right above your foot pad, then use the wrench, continue turning the same direction, and that will raise up your table. Reverse the process if you need to lower the table. In addition to making sure that our table is level, we want to make sure that the table width is going to be the same from one end of the table to the other. Easiest way to do that is to take a tape measure from the front edge of your front rail to the back edge of your back rail. Make sure that measurement is consistent the entire length of the table. When you put your table up, you initially had your cross tube nuts that went the length of your table rail that you used to tighten and assemble the table. Those nuts do not need to be over tightened. That can be what causes the table to be narrow in some spots and wide in others. And over time, with the movement and the heating and cooling of the metal, the nuts can loosen up as well. So if you're having movement issues, before you check your wheels, check your table and make sure everything's set up okay. You also want to make sure that your leveling roller, the roller on your table that doesn't have any canvas on it, is not pressing down on the throat of your machine. With a quilt on the table, you should be able to get your fingers between the leveling roller and the throat of your machine at least up to your first knuckle. A little bit less than ½ inch of clearance without having the table on the machine. If you need to, you can raise and lower your leveling bar to make sure that your quilt bed stays level. The last thing that you want to check with your leveling roller is to make sure that it's not bowed. Over time, since your leveling roller doesn't have the canvas pulling on it and it's only supported at the ends of your table, you can get a bow from the weight of the roller in the center of the table. If you stand at one end and turn your leveling roller from side to side, make sure that you don't see that the entire level of your roller is moving. If you do notice that there's a bow, you can put a piece of painter's tape on the high side, turn it so that painter's tape is always on top, then you make sure that your level is not pressing down on the center of your table. Our front to back motion can be adjusted using the adjusting cams that are on your head axles. When standing at the back of the machine, both the adjusting cams are going to be on the right side of the machine, one right in front of your left handle, and your front axle is up in front of your thread cutter. The adjusting cam uses an offset mounting hole. The narrowest point between the edge of the hole and the edge of your offset cam is your narrowest point for your wheel adjustments. When that narrow spot is away from your table rail, that means your wheels are farther apart. When you turn it around so it's closer to your table rail, that means your wheels are closer together and it's squeezing your table or your carriage more. Any position in between those two is how we get our wheel adjustments set the way you want it to move. The adjusting cam that we're seeing here is at the back of the table. We can see our narrowest point is about the 3 o'clock position if you were comparing the adjusting cam to the face of a clock. Our carriage rail is over here at the 9 o'clock position. So anytime we move that narrow point from our loosest position toward our tightest position at 9 o'clock, that'll change how much the wheels are squeezing the carriage and change how well the machine moves on the table. Right now that adjusting cam is about at 3 o'clock. So I'll use our 9/16 wrench, turn our adjusting cam so our narrowest position is about 5 o'clock. The cam should be turned clockwise. If it's too hard to turn, you may have to loosen the mounting bolt that's underneath the carriage wheel. Make the adjustment and then snug that bolt back up again. For front to back motion, 5 o'clock setting for your adjusting cams is about ideal, but you can make any changes to that adjusting cam so that the machine moves the way you want it to move. The adjusting cams on your carriage are here at the front end of the carriage, one on each side. The adjusting cam on the right adjusts both wheels on the right side of the carriage, front to back. Same general principle applies here. The narrowest point on the cam is the tightest position for the wheels. When that narrow point is pointing directly to your table rail, that's as tight as those wheels will ever be. When the narrow point is pointed away, that's as loose as those wheels would ever be. Any adjustment between what would be the 6 o'clock position for me to the 12 o'clock position is where we get our adjustment options for our carriage. What we're looking at now is the narrow standard carriage. This has adjusting cams on the front carriage wheels that work the same way the adjusting cams on the 4-piece carriage tables work with the horizontal wheels. Same general principle applies. Narrowest point on the carriage pointing towards your table will be tighter for the carriage wheels. Narrowest point further away from your table will be loose for your carriage wheels. Any adjustments that you need to make the table and the machine feel good for you can be made with these adjusting cams. What we're seeing here is the Bliss carriage, and you can see these are the front wheels for the Bliss. There are no adjusting cams on the Bliss table as there's no adjustments that need to be made. What we're looking at now is the underside of the carriage for the Lenny steel table. Most important thing with that table is making sure that it's square and level, and you can refer to your installation instructions on how to accomplish that. The front wheels on the Lenny steel table are mounted so that they float front to back. This will help with the wheel adjustments and make the carriage float on your table.